Alrighty. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It has been a week, and there's a lot to talk about. I think I want to start off. I just want to talk a little bit about President Bush passing away. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, though. You know, George H.W. Bush, the first one, just passed away in his mid-90s. And there it is. An American president passed away. This is the thing that I most want to say about it. And I don't care what you thought of Bush. I don't. Actively celebrating a man's death and doing it with comedic flair, even. Just the Facebook feed has been awash with just the most hateful, vulgar, bizarre crap. One of the first hint that I got that he had passed away was actually one of my liberal friends on Facebook had shared this ridiculous video of a bunch of crabs dancing happily, celebrating that George H.W. Bush was dead. I mean, look, I'm not going to pretend like I won't be glad to see Ginsburg go or glad to see Clinton go. But let's be real. Ginsburg is a problem currently. Clinton is a problem currently. Okay, there are several, I can think of several Democrats that are very old, that will die of natural causes before long, and I will be glad to see them go. But in each case, unlike George H.W. Bush, who has pretty much been off the public stage, apart from criticizing Donald Trump during the election, he's pretty much stayed off the public stage and just kept his nose clean and, you know, done what old retired white billionaires do. In fact, one might even say to a lesser extent for the last several years, because the man's been basically stuck in a wheelchair for next to a decade now. And I said something like this a few weeks ago when Justice Ginsburg fell down and injured herself, broke a few ribs. I'm not happy to see her injured. Okay, I would have been happy to hear that she had decided to resign from the court and step aside so Amy Barrett could step up. Now, my wish to see Ginsburg gone from the court, if it means that she dies and if she passes away and leaves the seat open, and then it gets filled with a reasonable justice, I don't wish her ill. Okay, and I'm not going to jump up and down and dance at her passing because she died. It's in poor taste. It's uncivil, and you should not tolerate that shit. Okay, there's no reason to be cruel. Now, I will say that Ginsburg has never, at any point in her tenure, been qualified to hold the position she holds. She has never been qualified to be a Supreme Court justice because, quite simply, in order to hold that office, you have to take an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States of America. Now, I could make a solidly reasonable argument that her support for in the Roe v. Wade case and this bizarre notion of plucking from the nebulous penumbra of unenumerated rights the right to murder your children. I could make a pretty solid argument that that's a pretty gross abandonment of the Constitution. But let's be real. We're talking about a woman who sided with the dissent on Heller, which means that her position on the Second Amendment is not that there's room in the interpretation of the Second Amendment for reasonable gun control. Her position on the Second Amendment is that there is no constitutional right to keep and bear arms. That the individual does not have an individual right to keep and bear arms. So the fact of the matter is that you cannot hold that position and in good faith take an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution. It's just not possible. You cannot take that oath and hold that position and not be a liar. But the idea of civility and not being cruel about people passing away is essentially, that's really all I wanted to talk about with regard to the Bush situation. Godspeed, Mr. President. Safe travels. Now, let's move on to some articles. So, lighten the mood a bit. I found this particularly entertaining. The Democrats, after winning the House, and in all fairness, they really knocked it out. They didn't just win the House; they rolled it the fuck over. It's a big deal. Okay, it's a major win. So good for them. Congratulations, kiddos. You managed to get the first. You managed to get the first functional retard elected to office. Oh my God! I'm not even getting into to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez tonight. But the Democrats are $18 million in debt after winning the House. Guys, okay, so before going into this election, let's not forget that the Democrats were already broke. They were broke coming out of 2016, right? They pretty much blew the bank on failing to beat Trump. So, whoops. Now they're $18 million in debt going into the general. Let's make no mistake. 2020 is on. The Democrat primaries are really going to start heating up right after Christmas. So we'll see how they manage to pull that off. I don't know about y'all, but I am ready for the 2020 elections. It's going to be an absolute hayride. I mean, comedy you can't write. We're going to have, because, okay, it's not going to be Trump versus the Democrats. It's going to be Trump versus the Academy, the 1990s Democrats, the modern communist, the modern democratic socialist, and some notional embodiment of the Green Party. Okay, we're going to see 5 or 6, I think, at least 5 or 6 Democrats run for the spot, and they're going to think that they can run on the last Republican model, where there were 17 primary candidates going into 2016. And I think they drastically underestimate just how exhausted America at large has become by the entertainment model of political debate. Long form YouTube videos, 1 hour YouTube videos that focus on a more in-depth, more complete discussion model, right? Those are gaining popularity at a rate that is just amazing. I mean, absolutely amazing. People have gotten tired of everything being done in soundbite, especially people on the right, because when you talk to a leftist, they don't speak in complete thoughts. They speak in circle approved newspeak and right think, and run on these bizarre talking points that aren't even logically coherent. The country at large has gotten tired of that style of debate. Because it's not a debate, it's not a conversation. There's no intellect to it. There's no intelligence to it. There's no competence, no thought. The art of rhetoric is something that has essentially nearly died in this country. And people are thirsty for it, hungry for it. So I think what we're going to see going into 2020 is that the ratings on the debates will be low, very low. As in some of the larger major media outlets will actually file bankruptcy. I don't know if CNN will do it, but one could hope. They'll file bankruptcy. So CNN will certainly be laying off some people. They're going to have to. And I suspect that when CNN starts laying people off because they have to, every one of them is going to be, there's going to be some kind of a sex scandal or something associated with it to try and mask the fact that financial difficulties forced them to make the move. Now, as all of that develops, it's just going to be a clown show. It's going to be an absolute clown show. These guys are going to start screaming. They're going to be trying to do the thing. They're going to be trying to out Trump. They're going to be looking to out Trump and out minority Obama. Okay, so what do I mean by that? To out Trump is to try and speak more bombastically, to really try and go over the top with the language, and the extreme claims and outlandish promises. See, they think that the Donald is making outlandish promises when he tries to build the wall, stuff like that. That's not the case. The building of the wall is really an incredibly reasonable maneuver because, quite frankly, it costs less to build. It costs less in one. The one-time cost of building the wall is less than the annual cost of supporting the criminal aliens. So, as they attempt to out-Trump the Trump, you're going to hear outlandish demands and claims and offers, promises. You'll definitely hear a huge ramp up on the climate change rhetoric, which is just, I'll end up doing a whole video on climate change and why we should be functionally ignoring it right now. It's not a question of whether or not climate change is occurring. It's a question of whether or not the celebrity scientists actually have a functional model that is serviceable and can allow us to make real, meaningful differences without just dumping money down a hole. So, let's keep moving a little bit. There's one of the things that happened this week is there was the whole thing with the Mueller campaign, the Mueller investigation, and Manafort. Apparently, they're saying that Manafort lied under oath or lied to the investigators, which actually that's an important distinction. It's subtle, but it is important. And now we're seeing things like New York Post, fresh evidence the Russia scandal is a Team Obama operation. Now, we have huge evidence. We have huge evidence on this. Excuse me. We have huge evidence on this that the Clinton campaign and the Democrat National Committee were very actively involved in funding collusion, in money laundering, and in composing evidence to try and cook up this whole Russia claim. It really looks like they went into the election operating under the assumption that Hillary was going to win and made the decision beforehand that in the event she did not, they would launch the Russia investigation, launch the claims that that there had been some sort of collusion. When all the while it's very clear that no, the DNC actually actively and clearly got involved there. It's no surprise that U.S. spooks intercept foreign officials' calls. Yes, we know that. We've talked about that at length on this show with reference to the Snowden situation. What happened with Edward Snowden? The thing that makes him such a pain in the ass is that what Snowden leaked were not secrets that people didn't know, but rather he confirmed secrets. He confirmed suspicions that were openly held by foreign nations without confirming those suspicions on our behalf, kind of leaving us with egg on our face. Like, it's everybody was drinking beer at the party, but you're the only one that was holding the can when the cops showed up, type of deal. So one of the things that was really prescient when Trump first took office is we learned that in the last couple of months, right before Obama left office, he basically broke down all the rules on how classified information is stored and restricted from access. And just, and here, okay, so Team Obama spread the info initiative certainly broke the spirit of the law. Okay, I had not read that far yet. Those leaks have produced a nagging political sore for the new administration, leading to the ouster of National Security Advisor Michael Flynn, helping to drive down President Trump's approval ratings and making it harder for him to push his program through. So, and then it's talking about Susan Rice here, and we'll get to that in a minute. So, Flynn was basically ousted and busted on lying, and it has later been revealed that the judge straight up, or not the judge, the prosecutors in that case did not think that he was lying. Flynn was basically cleared of all charges, but nobody bothered to tell him. And then he was pressured through the Mueller investigation, basically bankrupted him and threatened to do worse. And after they took his house away, they somehow strong-armed him into admitting to lying. That he admitted to lying is not the same thing as to say that he lied, especially given that the prosecutors said that he had not lied. So that's clear coercion composing. Mueller is an absolute thug. He's a criminal. So sorry, I was reading ahead a little bit. So Rice, Susan Rice is the one that went on all the Sunday shows and talked about the Benghazi video. Y'all remember that? And then, of course, we learned that the Benghazi video was an absolute, just complete fabrication. The idea that the attack was a response to this YouTube video was debunked almost immediately. And of course, as we've later learned, at the same time that they were telling us that the video was the cause of the attack, there's clear and obvious evidence that that was never the case. And as we see here, still in the New York Post, the Obama spying scandal is looking more and more serious. The New York Post actually says that it looks more like Watergate. I don't think that's actually a fair analogy. I don't think it's fair to say that it looks like what to compare the Obama spying to Watergate. In Watergate, basically you had Tricky Dick thought the Democrats were conducting an illegal intelligence operation against the GOP. That didn't send, apparently. We'll probably never know if he was actually involved in the planning of the activity, but what got him messed up was the cover-up of the activity. So a couple of agents entered the penthouse of the Watergate Hotel to try and recover whatever intelligence it was that they suspected the DNC of having acquired through illicit means. And of course, that was a crime. It was breaking and entering. It was essentially domestic espionage or corporate espionage. You really go either way with that or both ways, frankly. But that was some bad people were doing some bad stuff, and then some not so great people did some not the right thing to try and correct the bad thing, and then they screwed it up more by trying to cover up the mistake. It really is that simple. The thing that made Watergate nasty was the cover up. Now, what we have going on here, though, because in Watergate, it's not that Tricky Dick had actually employed the God, I'm sorry, guys. I'm a little distracted tonight because my wife's not home, which means I'm relying on the kids to follow instructions and have gone to bed on time so they can get up and go to school in the morning. I keep listening for. I know there's going to be noise. So what the Obama administration has clearly done is weaponized actual U.S. military and domestic intelligence operations against uh, political opponents. That's major. Okay. It is more correct to compare that sort of activity to places like North Korea, where there's ostensibly a two-party system, and they do have elections, but of course the same party always wins, and if you vote for the other party, then they'll kill you and three generations up and down from you. That's right. Your father, your grandfather, your great grandfather, your son, your grandson, and your great grandson, and you. Okay. That's what the weaponization of a government against its people looks like. So that and that's really all I want to say about that. I've got these other I've got these two other these two other articles that I brought up. No one mentions that the Russian trail leads to Democrat lobbyists. We've been trying to mention that frequently on this show since they brought it up. Okay, the Kremlin associated figures for whom members of his inner circle worked, the most notorious being Viktor Yanukovych, the deposed president of Ukraine, and fugitive oligarch Dmytro Firtash. But both of these repulsive figures were also advised by Democrat top dogs who likely earned large multiples of what the small fry Trump associates took home. So, did everybody forget that Obama just straight up tried to sell the U.S. election to Putin via Medvedev over an open mic? Okay. I've got a couple of articles here about the immigration stuff. We're not going to get into those tonight. I think we've done a half hour. We've talked about the Russia stuff and the president. I'm going to go ahead and call it. So think about what you're reading. Think about what you're hearing. Think about the connections of Russia to the Democrats. Think about where the money goes, where the money comes from. Don't forget about Perkins Coie and that connection, the servers, and all of that. And I will see you guys next week. And until then, remember, if you build a man a fire, you'll keep him warm for the evening. But if you set a man on fire, he'll be warm for the rest of his life. Good night.